The cemetery director stood in front of 40 grieving families and told us we could pay a relocation fee to keep our mothers where they were buried, or watch them get dug up and moved to the flooded section at the bottom of the hill. My mother had been in that ground for 6 years. 6 years of Sunday visits, 6 years of leaving daisies because roses made her sneeze even in memory. And this woman in a gray blazer was telling me grief now had a price tag. She called it restructuring. She said the cemetery needed to consolidate plots for long-term sustainability. She said it with a clipboard in her hands and a smile that never once reached her eyes. Behind her, a banner read, Legacy Gardens Memorial Trust, Est 1958. I asked how much the fee was. She said it depended on plot location. Mine was $12,000. The woman next to me, a widow named Carol who cleaned houses for a living, started to cry. Her husband's plot was quoted at $18,000. Families who couldn't pay would be relocated within 30 days. No say in the matter. No court to appeal to, she said, because we had all signed a maintenance agreement decades ago that gave the trust the right to reassign plots for structural necessity. I went home that night and read every page of my mother's burial contract. There was nothing about relocation. There was nothing about fees. There was a single line about perpetual care, guaranteed forever, non-negotiable. I brought that line to the meeting the next week. The director looked at it for exactly 2 seconds and said, perpetual care referred to grass mowing, not plot location. She said if I wanted to argue semantics, I could hire a lawyer, but lawyers were expensive and 30 days moved fast. I didn't have $12,000. I had a mortgage and a daughter starting college and a mother in the ground who deserved better than being auctioned off to the highest bidder like a parking space. So I did what she told me to do. I tried to raise the money. I sold my grandmother's ring. I picked up weekend shifts. I got to $11,400 by the deadline, and the director told me someone else had already outbid me for the plot. Someone I never met had paid $15,000 to keep a stranger's grave where my mother's grave had been for 6 years. The trust didn't care whose grave went where. They cared about the number attached to the check. I stood at the edge of the new section they were building for us, the ones who couldn't pay. It wasn't consolidated ground. It was a low field behind a drainage ditch that flooded every spring. I watched backhoes lined up at the tree line, engines idling, waiting for permission to start digging up the people we loved. That's when I saw the old groundskeeper, a man named Walt who'd worked there since before I was born, loading something into the bed of a maintenance truck. Rolled paper, the kind you'd see in an architect's tube. One sheet had slipped loose and caught on the wind, and I grabbed it before it blew into the ditch. It wasn't a drainage plan. It wasn't a consolidation map. It was a full architectural rendering of a private mausoleum complex. Marble columns, a reflecting pool, individual family crypts starting at $200,000 each, built directly over the section where they were about to move all our unpaid dead. Walt saw me holding it. His face went white. He said, "You weren't supposed to see that," and reached to take it back. And behind him, through the fogged window of the site office, I could see the director on the phone, laughing at something. A glass of wine already poured on her desk at 2 in the afternoon. I looked down at the blueprint in my hands, at the date stamped in the corner, 3 years before that first meeting where she told us this was about sustainability. And I understood that every family crying in that room had been crying for a lie that had been drawn up in an architect's office long before